Welcome back. This is Hope Adon right here at Hope TV, where you look and you live. It's Monday, and so it means we are talking money matters, business matters, everything to touch on the economy as well. And today we are very personal because we are talking about how can we make these baby steps towards financial freedom. It's a conversation that, as we have mentioned, that we began last week, and this one is aimed at helping us ensure that we get out, of the bondage of debts, of that cycle of scarcity year in, year out. And so we need to start somewhere. And that is why we have a financial expert in studio joining us so that they can teach us a thing or two about where do we start, how do we start, how do we even maintain that consistency in as far as the same is concerned. So be part of the show, interact with us across our social media platforms, get us on WhatsApp 0708 222 323, and that is the platform that also you can use to ask any questions, any queries, any clarities that you would want in as far as today's topic of discussion is concerned. And we are talking about those baby steps to financial freedom. This is the first part, and so we will be very, we will try to be as exhaustive in some of the topics that we will cover as we can today. And to help us in our conversation today, we have our guest. He was with us last week, and he graciously accepted to join us as well today. James Wanyugi, he is a financial advisor, goal setting and budgeting, and of course he is the right man for this assignment. And so allow us to welcome James on set this morning. Good morning, James, and karibu sana.
Thank you so much, George, and I'm super grateful to come back again. So I do appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
And it's so humbling to talk about this very difficult but very important topic.
Yes,
so I'm grateful, and I thank God. It's a bright morning out there.
It is.
And we really thank God for this chance.
Awesome.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
And hoping your weekend was also was also good.
It was good.
Well spent,
I spent some time teaching women in Mala about finances again. So we thank God for giving us chances and platforms to talk about this important topic. Yeah.
All right. For someone who is meeting you for the very first time, our cameraman included, a brief introduction of yourself.
Yeah, thank you. James Wanyugi is my name. I'm a financial advisor, certified and licensed by IRA. And above that, I'm married to one wife. I hear people address themselves that. It's good. It's important to say that.
Very important.
Yeah, with 4 children. Yeah. And again, boys and girls all together, and I'm thankful to God. Yeah, so that is James. Yes.
And you have been very helpful with so many conversations. I mean, I can say from this show, I've been able to make some deliberate and intentional moves with my finances. So it's not just for the viewer, but even for us here, we are growing, we are learning each and every single day. And today, of course, is our part 1 of financial freedom. And our main focus, in fact, will be on budgeting. That's what we are going to lean mostly towards, so that we can get this right. And maybe to start us off, maybe you can just talk to us about setting a financial goal. What is a financial goal, and how do we even begin to set one?
Great. Yeah, thank you so much. And before we actually come to budgeting comes first. But I like beginning with goal setting, because if I don't have goals, even budgeting becomes harder. And so I start by defining where I want to be at a certain point financially. Because I read something by Zig Ziglar. He said he had defined the wheel of life. And the wheel of life touches every area of our lives: spirituality, finances, emotional, social, and all this. But today we are talking about finances, because it means if our wheel is okay in every other dimension, I'm okay spiritually, I'm okay socially, in every other aspect. If my finances are not okay, it means at some point I have a wheel that is flat on one side, and we will not end up anywhere. So when I talk about goal setting, I come to a place of goal setting is not, we don't begin with numbers, which is shocking actually. We are talking finances, but actually goal setting doesn't start with numbers. And money is numbers, but actually we come to a place where who am I as James? What are my core values? What are my priorities? And I want to break it down to come to a place of, if freedom is my priority, that means coming out of debt becomes a priority to me.
Yeah.
If freedom is my priority, it means retiring early is a priority to me. So when I'm setting financial goals, my core priorities comes in first before I actually put numbers somewhere. And then if maybe security is my core value, it means setting up an emergency fund comes at the very beginning. That's why I said setting financial goals starts actually with defining your core values. That way, setting goals now becomes more precise and more like, I can say laser focus. I already know what I want to achieve, and then now I work backward. Yes.
Yeah. And talking of that financial goal, allow me to ask if saying I want to have this project, and this project we're in January, so I want to do this project in June. Is that part of, will that now define the financial goals that I need to make, or how do we define now that?
Yeah, they will, because now, as we said, like, let me say, as James, I have a family, I want to buy in a plot in the next 6 months, the way we are saying. That means settling down for me, it's really key. And then out of that, I set realistic and smart goals. Are they, do I have action plans? Where do I start? Are they measurable? Like every month, starting now January, at the end of this month, how much do I need towards what I want to achieve? And that comes into a whole new dimension where do I want to buy that thing? Where is it? Do I have an action plan? And then now start putting in figures. How am I going to achieve that? Is my salary or my income, is my business able to sustain that up to that level? So for me, as I set that, I put it a figure in it, and then I come back. I know we talk about SMART goals. Are they specific? Are they measurable? You know, every detail of actioning, putting that into action really matters.
All right. Awesome. And mentioning that part of making the goals realistic, I think that's a very huge part of it. Because sometimes I have seen situations whereby we would set certain goals, and it's a huge one. And we have this dream that this is going to happen, but then getting to that place, sometimes it's hard. But at the same time, there's the flip side of it of, am I, not really having faith that I can actually achieve? Is it that I'm lazy, that I feel it's impossible? So how do we balance that and ensure that the goals that we are setting, we actually will realize them? Why is it even important for us to set realistic goals as opposed to just big goals?
Yeah, and that's a good question. And we talk about, of course, there is a faith part, but again, we are told about faith with action. You see, where I have, last time we talked about tracking our finances, and I like using the word spying on our finances. That means if I've been knowing where my money has been coming from, and I know how I've been using my money, it means if I have a goal, there are figures in my mind. It's not a wishful thing where I'm like, I may achieve or not achieve. You know, realistic means every month I have been setting aside a certain amount. That means if I want to achieve by August a certain thing, that means I have already articulated into very precise figures. And now we come back to, how do I achieve that? If my salary cannot allow, what else can I do to actually, do I cut cost? Do I look for another place actually to bring in income? How am I going to achieve that? That put the figures into a realistic place where it's not, I love faith because sometimes there are things that happen in our lives where I know I did something and I wrote something by faith. I didn't know how to do it. And out of that, watu wanasema ninajituma ama God came through in a way that I didn't know. It's good because we are Christian and we know things happen. But again, we come to a place of, this is what realistically means to actually arrive to that destination, because our goal is a destination. It's like at the end of this year, at the end of first quarter, at the end of the second quarter, at the end of the third quarter, this is how much I'm achieving. Yes, I have faith. God will sustain me, maybe in good health and in every other way. I will achieve that. But let me come back and put figure into that.
Yeah.
Right.
And as we talk about the step by step of heading into financial freedom, there are two sets of people here. There are those who are employed, and then there are those who are unemployed. And so maybe they are doing businesses, could be small, medium, or large businesses. How different are their goals, and how different are their, should I say, their journey towards a financial freedom?
Great. And sometimes I say I've interacted with many businessmen, and actually up to last Friday I was sitting with a businessman, and we were like sitting down with figures, and we were looking like, what is the lowest month have you ever gotten for 2024?
Yes.
Because that way, you know, and each business has the high season and the low seasons.
True.
There are people around Christmas and holidays, they peak, maybe hotels and maybe vacation areas and branding, and maybe there's someone who is knowing, by the way, come Valentine, it's a peak for me.
Yes.
Come, what do we call Easter holidays, it's a peak for me.
Yeah.
There are those months that you know you have a high, and there are those places that you know I have a low. So over time, you are able like to know where does my business cash in on the highest. That way you will be able to set goals that are aligning with your business model. And that way, I like talking about goals are also, sometimes we review goals because sometimes we say, by the way, when I write a goal, it should stick to that way. Business people, I advise them, have that record where I already know the graph or the trajectory of how the performance of my business is. And then along the way, set goals that are aligning to that. If by the grace of God, you have a high in your lowest in moments so that you should be having a low, thank God, but you're able now to adjust to what has gone over. But rather, realistic is what are the records on the past experiences. For me, I would advise people to track and so know how the trajectory looks like. And then that way you'll be able to project further. Actually, that can give you up to even 5 years plan, knowing by this is how far the past has been. I'm looking ahead and knowing how do I move forward.
And now that we have been able to, talk about the financial goals, maybe we can jump right into budgeting, which is the elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. And talk about what is budgeting and what's the importance of budgeting. There's a term that you used. Which term was that? Maybe you can remind us.
So basically I say, first of all, I like saying budgeting, as big as the word sounds, sometimes it sounds like so limiting, because when we talk about budgeting, most people feel, I think this is something to limit me. But actually it sets us free. But budgeting helps us to give every shilling a job, give it a name. It's like the month starting February, let me talk about February because it's right ahead of us. We thank God January is flying. Like, we always say January has more days. But this one somehow, maybe it's for me, it's flying. But it's like looking at February and saying, this is how much I earn, assuming you have a salary. Before the month starts, you give every shilling a name, rather than letting the shilling give itself a name. Not rather, like if you don't, it will give itself a name. Where money comes in and money goes out, and somewhere you say, I don't know where my money went. So budget helps us to give every shilling a job and a name. Yes, that is what I would say the budget is. Yes, and it's really important. And I remember last time we talked about budgeting rule. And again, at the end, I said, there are people who flip the whole rule. We talked about 50-30-20 rule, where 50% goes to our needs, 30% to our wants, and 20% to our savings and investment. That is short-term and long-term. And again, we say 30% for wants can be so high. There are people who say, by the way, this month, and something I've seen over people who have adopted the budgeting rule is that eventually you realize you are able to push that rule to a place where you become more cautious with how much you spend on wants. I remember someone last weekend told me, do you remember you talked to us, but my son, nowadays we go to our supermarket and they realize by the mom, do you know we are overspending on that? Do you know we should have bought this instead of that? it blows your mind on how conscious you would become on money. So budgeting is really good. It gives you the freedom rather than to limit you. And again, 50-30-20 rule, we're in a place where I advise people, maybe as couples, budgeting together. I know, like, if I would say a practical example, like my wife and I, we have a spreadsheet where she updates on her side. When I log in on my side, I see whatever has been ticked green, whatever is red, whatever is yellow. We know what needs to be dealt with now, whatever needs to be dealt with in the next 1 week, which bill comes when. It helps us to be aware what we need to do at any one time. And again, I want to mention, if someone is out there and they are single and they are like, I live with my parents. I love listening once in a while to Dr. Miles Monroe, some of his videos that he did before he passed on. And he used to say when they got married, and this blew up my mind, they lived with their mother-in-law until they came out of debt and they became financially free. And I know culturally that is not possible in where we are, but you can imagine the limits people go to be debt-free and to be in a place where they have control of over their money. So budgeting is really important because it helps you to know the current of your situation. I know there's a scripture that talks about we need to know the affairs of our flock. How are they doing? But budgeting actually helps you to know every shilling where it will go. Before I actually get it. Yes.
And this rule of 50-30-20 actually helps you and also helps in as far as because the biggest problem, and especially with the working class, let me call them the working class, the middle class especially, is living outside their means. So they're living way beyond their means. And so the 50-30-20 rule actually comes in to help you in as far as now putting your money and putting your money where it ought to go, because we want to impress. That's a challenge. And then again, we have the money, but then again, when we impress, hii pesa haitoshi.
Exactly.
And then we now start complaining. How can we be so practical in as far as employing this rule is concerned, in as far as our finances are concerned?
Great. And I was engaging someone and they are like, what would you tell me if I earn 50,000 shillings in a month in a salary? And for me, when I consider that we are actually in the low income earners, if that is where we fall into. And I was telling them, if all your needs put together, they are above 50%. Actually, I was telling them, if your rent is above 12,500 shillings, if you're earning 50,000 Kenya shillings in a month, then if you go beyond 12,500 shillings, you are living above your means on rent. Because it means if you now put groceries, you put steamer, you put water bills and everything, it will go above 50%. And that's where we actually talk about, do I move houses? Do I need to tighten my belt on? Maybe electricity, you may not, because that is constant, maybe the lighting and all that. But we come to a place where once we are aware, if I get 50,000 shillings, 25,000 shillings should go into all my wants, all my needs. If it goes above that, then I'm living above my means. And again, this is a place where every month looks different to almost everyone, because there are places where maybe a car insurance has expired. Maybe the kids are going back to school. Every month is so different. And that's why we advise people, can we have a budget in every month? Because there is a place where someone say, by the now, James, I think my things are now normal. And they say, by the I already know where my money comes from and where my money goes. But actually, the 50-30-20 rule allows you to actually be aware what is happening in every other month. You go through your calendar and then reflect back to how much you're earning. Is it aligning to this rule? And I know there are months where I say the moment we start, maybe the third, fourth month, you start now enjoying budgeting. The first 3 months would be really tough. Like, how am I recording every shilling that comes in my pocket? But at the fourth month, you start now enjoying recording stuff and then planning ahead. And then if you have an increase of a side hustle have come in, because we talked about sometimes if we want to achieve a financial goals, we need actually to know where else can I get money to supplement what I get. You are able now to, instead of spending more, actually you are saving more. And I think next Monday we will talk about emergency fund and coming out of debt. So you are able now to put the buffer into this other account that will help you to come out of a rainy day if a rainy day comes. So it's a really important space where it gives you the awareness. I'm not living in the blue. I'm not living I'm not drifting in life, but actually I'm on the control. I'm a master to my money rather than my money mastering me. Yes.
Wow.
Profound.
That is
Thank you for that. And it's an amazing conversation that we are having this morning. James Wanyugi is a financial advisor, and we are talking about, goal setting, budgeting, and all in today's conversation, as we are looking at some of the baby steps that we need to take towards financial freedom. Any question, any query, any clarification you could be having, kindly don't hesitate to get in touch with us. 0708 222 323. That is our WhatsApp platform. We are taking a short commercial break. We are coming back to continue with our conversation.
Rafiki soul is the promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond what angaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki soul is a promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond what angaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki soul.
Friends of Hope, keeping hope alive.
Amazing. We are back, and of course we are learning each and every single day. It's always an opportunity to learn something new, and today we are learning about baby steps to financial freedom. We have James with us. He is now a resident guest, and we will be seeing him quite a lot because he has quite a lot of wisdom in this area of finances. We are here to help you to indeed see that financial freedom become a reality. And we, before going on on break, we were just touching on the 50-30-20 rule, and there is something that we've touched on even while on break, and maybe James, you can talk about it even more, getting now to the nitty-gritties of the 50-30-20 rule. There are things like tithing, there are things like giving. Where do they fit? And what is even the importance of budgeting also for things like that?
Great. And I was saying, at least we are in a Christian TV, so it's easy to tackle this issue of giving. And I was telling people the Bible has 2,300 scriptures about money and a lot about giving. There's someone, we were driving from a place and they asked me, James, what does it mean to invest where more than rust doesn't eat? And that's a very hard question because it's investing, but where is this place? And that's where I was telling him, when I get my money, and this is the rule where I start by kingdom first, where I check off my tithe first, and then I prioritize giving. What is it that God is giving me a burden? And I treat these places as part of my needs, like this is who I am. And I was saying giving deals with my heart. It's rather than the other way around. We think it's just something that we take off. But the moment we take off in this area of giving, actually we realize money, the issue of greed, and it's a very big word. It deals with the greed in our heart because we are all born greedy. Just check a child when you give them something and take it back immediately. They want to hold it. And now giving now deals with our heart, where now it deals with the greed in our heart. And I think if you look at the 50-30-20 rule, from the very beginning, it's me, me, me. It's like my rent, my children, whatever, my savings, and we will come to savings and investing at the very end. Everything is me, 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 me. So, but now in the kingdom, we are God and others first. And then we come now to others. And this is a principle where, and I know I have hundreds of people that not really hundreds, very few people of my friends that have lived in this principle of giving first and later doing their finances. And I've never seen someone who actually struggles with money among the people I've seen who prioritize the area of giving. So when we talk about where more than rust doesn't eat, we talk about there are people who actually take on maybe a child of someone who is struggling. Maybe you pay a school fees or part of their school fees. It's a part somewhere where you attend to you check off maybe to a mission, people who do missions out there, people who go to unreached people group. There's never shortage of where to invest where more than rust doesn't eat. I was telling someone I said we have 2 boys and 1 boy in Kiambu High School, Form 3. And I was telling him, if this boy would turn out to be a great man in the society, for me, I believe there is something that I will never remove from him. Whatever we have invested in his school and whatever he does every day is something that it will be ingrained in his generations. The person he becomes, you will never remove from him. So for me, giving actually comes first before I do anything else with my money. And I think, as I said, it's a heart surgery every day that we come to this place of giving. I remember I was giving an example to someone. I was working abroad somewhere, and I remember that time I did a check of 100,000 to and I think that was the toughest place for me to actually, this is not something I'm investing. This I'm just giving to a worthy cause, to a ministry. And I think since then, there's no amount of money that I cannot get away with. It's like a heart surgery in my heart. And every time we have come to a place of, my wife would tell me, by the way, this is how much we had, like especially in the beginning for our marriage. And we would say, by the way, this is enough just for our rent. This is an example of 1 month. This is how much I'm needed tomorrow for rent. But I actually went ahead and tithed. And I remember the following day, someone telling me, James, I dreamt with you. I don't know what happened. They wrote me a check of the exact rent I needed that month. And there are so many examples. I think it followed another time. Someone tells you, by the way, James, can you buy diapers to your daughter? And I didn't have maybe a need for that, but the money they sent was like, it was feeling to someone, something I had gotten from a tithe out of a shortage I had. So for me, it's a principle that I can almost talk about endlessly because I have seen it work for me. But again, the way we are saying, giving works on our hearts. Yes.
Wow. Now, when we are drawing up our budget,
yes,
what should we include in this budget so that now you help someone who has never decided to draw up or come up with a budget? What and how should I come up with a proper budget?
Awesome. And that's a good question. When I was preparing for this actually yesterday night, I was like, what do I tell guys out there? Of course, it's obvious I do this every day in my life, but do I have something that I can guide guys like a step by step? And then, as I said, maybe these are the few tips that we can adopt. And as I said, we create a zero-based budget. A zero-based budget is where we budget to the last shilling. You know, even if there will be a leeway, we have even a miscellaneous, a money that you have called a miscellaneous. Even if it's 1,000 shillings, it doesn't matter. And this is even to a low-income earner. Someone who is saying by the James, I earn maybe 20,000 shillings. I earn maybe whatever I earn is barely going to the very end of the month. But when we have a zero-based budget, we give every shilling a job. You realize actually what you have is enough. I know I was telling someone, sometimes you catch even an earlier matatu because the earlier you come, you realize it's cheaper. What can I do to actually make this money run me to the very end and maybe remain 1,000 or 2 to go towards my investments? And I usually say, if we are not investing, we are living above our means. It doesn't matter how much we earn. If we are not investing and saving, we are living above our means. So zero-based budget helps us to actually allocate this. So the next one is budget together. I say that as a family. And we may accept it or not, but most conflicts in marriages come from money matters. But I remember one time when I started tracking my money and everything, it was so easy actually to go back to a book and say, by the last 1 month that we have used 100K on expenses. How does the next 1 month look like for us? And I think, and I talked about an Excel sheet that we usually use. We go somewhere on a date, we budget, we track like what do we need for the next month, like what do we have for the next 1 year. That way we have areas that are red, we are yet to pay that. There are those that we have paid along the way for the on the go, and there is the yellow where we know these are not priorities. These are wants and they are not needs. We can live up without this and we can live with this. Even visiting friends, actually the 30% allows us how many friends do we have and who do we prioritize to visit. Do we go, do we invite them? Actually it put things so clear for us.
So you've been planning the visits you're making.
Yes. I remember one time we did our family vision, and now we actually mentioned the friends we want to visit within this year, the whole year. Do we invite them? If we invite, how much does the kitchen cost to run the kitchen and feed them a good meal? If we want to go, how much fuel do we need? How much shopping do we need? That with the budget, actually it makes things so clear. But budgeting together as a family set things right, and the fights become fewer as a family. And so the next one is budget every month, every single month. And I talked about months look different. There are those budget things that you would pay after 3 weeks. I know our internet comes every 3 months, so that that month will look different from the second month from now. So that month we need to budget for it because it will look different. And again, start with the most important categories. We talked about needs, the 50%, and then you go to others. And I said once we are like month 4, 5, we realize actually we are saving more because we are like more aware of every shilling. I remember a man who told me, James, do you know nowadays even a 10 shilling is I look at it in a much of it, like for me every shilling matters. And again, the next one we talk about paying off debts, and again we will talk about debt next Monday and the methods of coming out of debt. Maybe that one we will pass it like that way. And then the next one is don't be afraid to trim your budget. The way we said, like there are things that months can be super easy and some months can be a bit tough until you come to a place where things are a bit automatic. The next one is making a schedule. You will already know that each bill is supposed to be paid at what time. There is a schedule and you know how things are happening. And then tracking your progress. Tracking your progress means every win, by the way, I have done budgeting for the last 3 months. Now I'm tracking my progress, and celebrate yourself. Like, by the way, I think budgeting is becoming better. I think I've managed to save 2 more than this month than last month because I'm more aware. Track progress and celebrate some of these wins. And then the last one and not the least, create a miscellaneous category where, yes, we are giving every shilling a job, but now next week we will talk about where do I put my extra? Do I put it in an emergency fund? And I think emergency fund will become very important for us because it will also help us to come out of debt. And then the next one, maybe the last one, second time, cut up mobile loans. And I know this is big, but again, we will go deeper into it this coming Monday. And again, it's all to help us actually to have this place where the budget is all inclusive and it's making sense for us. So that is what I would say as tips on how to make a budget. And also I like telling people, nowadays it's so easy to use M-Pesa. It's so easy to pay things on the go. But I usually advise guys, especially if you have been in that place of struggle, sometimes use cash. There's someone who said using cash, the pain that people go through when they are afflicted by something is the same pain people go through when they are paying things in cash. It inflicts an emotional pain in you, feeling by the 10K yote imeenda, but when you are just putting a fingerprint on your app and then you just check off how much you are paying, it's like it lands deeper when you are using cash. So if you are able to use cash, the better. And
you feel that.
Exactly, the pinch actually. Actually, it's a pinch. Yes.
Easy, we live in a cashless economy. Like everywhere you go,
and it's a really good. It's a really good thing because of safety and all that. But I usually advise people, especially when we are making those a bit. Maybe you are buying something worth like 5K, 6K. Use cash if possible. And there are people who actually get their salary and then you withdraw. Put them in a bahasha. This is for, if it's for rent, maybe you deposit or use the means that you use, but use, if possible, gawanyisha your pesa into several categories. Yes.
And we've seen memes.
Yes. Exactly.
And the allocation sometimes can shock you. Somebody put 2 coins to a food.
Yes. Exactly. I know I was teaching some children somewhere. I was invited, and actually we had clear jars. Because we need to allocate it. Like this means this, and we write it. This means this, and out of that you actually realize it becomes super easy. So it's just a habit, and then out of that we see how do we approach it. But now we are moving into cashless. We will never avoid that, but if possible, let us use cash. Yes.
I'm also curious about something, the 20% that is for entertainment per se. What's the importance of allocating that amount from the budget? And also, how do you ensure that your basic needs are not things, okay, maybe sometimes you can put things in your basic that should actually be in the 20%. So maybe talk about that and how we can, be diligent even in that so that we don't go overboard.
And that's a good question. I like talking about actually 30%. We talked about the 50% are the needs.
Oh, yeah, it's actually 30%.
So 30%, this where now, if we want to eat out, this where we eat out, this where now we attend someone's rorashio or whatever it is. And as I said, the good thing with this is that the first 3 months becomes really tough. Like sometimes you are not sure by the, do I push this here? Do I put on the other end? I remember when we became more aware of our budgeting, we actually had to say how many Sundays do we eat out and how many Sundays do we head back home? And our kids know, they know by the, it's that Sunday where from church, get in the car, home direct. And if they really want to play, we have the skating boots, always in the boot of the vehicle. We know where we are going. We will just stay and maybe 2 snacks or so. and then they will skate, and then they have their skates. When they are tired, put back the skate boot in the boot.
Yeah.
We head home. And that way, even them, they know we budget. And they know even themselves, they don't just ask for things. Even toys, they know I have like around holidays, I have this 1,000 to go to, I don't want to advertise in the business, to this shop, budget for it. And initially it was really tough, but nowadays I see my son, by the way, I've used 200. Now he goes on picking stuff and toys and stuff. Actually, they have known this is how we live. We have budget, we don't have guesswork with how much we earn. So over time, we already know what is needs and what are wants. And now even wants, we know how to squeeze a bit, just to make sure we are having a buffer somewhere. So there will be a time where we'll say, by the can we treat ourselves? It will not be out of the blue. It will be something that is already there. We have set it aside already. Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So we have to plan for everything. Things don't just happen. You have to plan for them.
Very true.
All right. Someone is asking that if you could expound a little bit about the zero-based budget.
Yes.
What it means, and if you can expound some more.
Great. That's a good question. Zero-based budget is where I'm talking about. Let me say I earn 30,000 Kenya shillings.
Yes.
So I start. Okay, let me talk about like 50,000 shillings. I started talking about. I know my rent should be around 12,500. That is approximately 25% of how much I'm earning. And then I come to groceries, I come to electricity, I come to water, I come now to supporting parents. If you are paying for, I remember there's a time I was talking, I had told someone, I'm brought up by my grandparents. They are NHIF, now it has gotten another name. How much does that cost me? Because now all those things, I come to the very last shillings. Even the miscellaneous may be, how much would you go off budget in a month? Can we put that as a miscellaneous? That way you have given the first to the last shilling a name. I told someone, they asked me I went to someone and they told me they don't have money when I asked them for help. And these guys, they have a big vehicle, all this and all that. Actually, I told them, I think I would do the same if you come to me and I've budgeted for the month. That means I've budgeted for every shilling for that month. And that's a zero-based budget where I've allocated maybe places where I can bless people. I talked about giving, but if I've already given, it means when you come to me and tell me, James, by the way, can you fuliza for me, or can you chuck something small for me, or 1,000 or so, I will tell you, by the way, I'm not in a position, but can we try this coming month? Comfortably saying a no and being okay with it. Zero-based budgeting means I have allocated my money for that month fully. If I have a buffer, I said I have a side hustle. If that money comes in and again, I still knock it to 50, 30, 20 rule, and I know I have done with my needs, it means now there is a surplus that is going to my savings. I may have maybe an account I've given a name. There's a place where I want to own a plot in the next 5 years. I'm pumping every excess I have. That is where I'm putting it. But in every month, I don't have a cash that I'm wondering, what do I do with this money? It all has purpose and it has a name in it. Even doing a coffee with a friend, it's already catered for. I remember yesterday we talked with someone, and actually when we decided on a date next month, I went to my calendar, my Google Calendar. I booked that because it will come with a budget. We'll have a coffee. So how much will that cost me? So when I'm coming to budget in this end of January, I will already see my calendar has that meeting. It's not a guesswork for me. It's already assigned there. And I will spend a certain amount for myself. So that way it means every shilling from the first to the last has been catered for. And that's a zero-based budget. Yes.
Wow, that's really powerful. That's really, really powerful, because indeed things usually come up as the month continues to go. But if I can also budget for anything that comes up.
Actually, it helps even your friends to have boundaries with you.
That's
because there are people who know, by the way, mtu fulani nikimpigia tu hivi, something comes up. And now you realize, by the boundary, I no longer have boundaries with my money. Now budget, they know, by the way, if I reach to them at a certain time, they will tell me no and not blink about it. That's what it is. And I, again, it's so advantageous if we actually embrace it. Yes.
Wow. Powerful. Quite powerful nuggets there. And I see time is far much spent, but thank you so much, James, for the wisdom that you've been able to pour out in this part 1 of Baby Steps Towards Financial Freedom. Maybe I can give you a chance to give us any final remark that you may have on this conversation, anything you feel that we could have left out.
Great. Yeah. For me, I think, as I said, money is numbers. And there's someone who said numbers don't lie. Numbers they are real. They help us to predict the future. They help us to know where we are. So let us not have guesswork on how much we get. And also, I started by saying sometimes, and these I'm talking from a place of being a Christian, let us know that we are a people of God first and kingdom and others first, where actually someone is praying for something and actually God uses you to put a burden on your shoulders. And I know as we continue doing this money stuff, we not only do the money that we earn, but also our hearts are aligning to God's will. So for me, that is really key. And I usually say, whenever I'm actually praying to God to expand and to bless me, it's out of seeing I'm also being a solution to what He is in His heart. So it's a whole conversation that we can never avoid. And for me, once we get hold of money and we are mastering the money, because Jesus, as I say, Jesus talked about money more than He did about heaven and earth, even more than prayers and faith. So it's a very important topic. So let us actually do more research. Let us read more. Let us go online. Let us listen more. How do I come out of debt? How do I do ABCD? And also have an accountability partner. If you don't have someone to keep you accountable, for people who are married, it's easier. Can we keep each other accountable in this? If you are single, can you get someone who you can keep accountable? I have these goals I've set. Can you keep me accountable on this? Get an accountability partner and let the journey begin. Eventually, you will reach to a place where even anxiety about finances, you realize anxiety is going low and you're having control of your life and finances in general. Yes.
James, I don't want anyone to blame us for them not getting out of debt and for them not enjoying financial freedom. So within a minute, please answer this. How do we track our financial progress?
Awesome. And as I said, when we start with our goals, we first defining who we are and priorities in our lives. And out of that, we now start to assign those priorities a financial figure. And along the way, maybe 3 months down the line, if I want to buy a car at the end of maybe the next 1 year or 1.5 years, how am I going to approach that instead of going to a car bazaar and ask for a loan? And in the next 3 months, can I have deposited maybe 100,000 shillings, depending on how much you earn? How much is that for you? If you have a money market account, how much has it grown to? If you realize you have clocked the first quarter and how much you should achieve at the end of the first quarter, celebrate yourself, because human beings we drive on accolades and we want people to acknowledge us, but sometimes there may not be that one person to celebrate with you. Can you tap yourself at the back and say, by the way, I can achieve now the next quarter goal? And then bit by bit, you realize by the end of the year, if you wanted a car worth 600,000 or whichever amount, how far am I? And then along the way, if you feel by the way, I have 1 month and there's a lot to achieve, be comfortable to adjust your budget. Because we are saying it's good, it's giving you a roadmap. The goal is giving you a roadmap of where you want to arrive, but be comfortable also to adjust along the way. Be okay, because we are human at the end of the day. And sometimes things can fall short, and sometimes they can go better where you achieve earlier than you planned. Yes.
Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
And we told you at the beginning of the show that by the time that we are through with today's conversations, you will not be where you were as we began.
Absolutely.
And so I know you have learned a thing or two. And so it's now up to you to now start this journey in terms of applying the same in your life. Yes, you have heard all this information. How then do you now start the application bit of it. And we are hoping to hear more, good reports, progress reports of where you are. And as in case you have any challenges, any obstacles, you can always reach out to James. How can we reach out to you?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I train groups, I train companies, I train all these avenues where people need to be educated on. My first one is my number 0702-391-035. And again, I'm at Williamson House, right across Fort Ngong Avenue. It's a walking distance from here. And again, through my number, you can be able maybe to keep track. If you have a group that you want to be trained or a church or whatever it is, I'm available and we can always schedule along the way.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, James. And thank you for accepting this invitation. It's a huge sacrifice.
For sure.
A Monday morning, it's no joke. So for that, thank you so very much. And even using what God has, placed in your heart to bless his people as well. So thank you so much. And regards to your colleagues and also regards to your family, they have appeared and featured prominently in this conversation. So to your wife and your children, salutation to them.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for being a great example.
Thank you.
Because I mean, that's just a beautiful thing to see just how kids have been able to pick that up. That's a whole generation you are transforming. And you, through giving us the information that you're giving us, it means that we can extend the same to our children and our families as well. So I'm already looking forward to part 2 of this.
Next Monday we are handling emergency fund and debt because they go hand in hand.
They go amazing. I know so many people who will be impacted by that one, and I'm looking forward to that. We can't have financial freedom without taking care of those two very important things. So thank you so much, and may God bless you and keep adding to everything that you have. And for our viewers, asanteni sana for tuning in this morning. We do hope that you've been able to learn a thing or two. Personally, I have learned, and especially the part about budgeting for the giving, because it will come up. But just having a budget is just a good thing. So I hope that you've been able to take a few takeaways. I'm looking forward to the next episode. I know you are too. Keep in touch with us right here at Hope TV Kenya. This is your favorite show, Hope at Dawn, each and every single day. You know how we do it. Aside from giving you hope, we also teach you about important things that you need to apply in your life. Until tomorrow, my name is Beatrice Nudi.
And my name is George Gishuru. Do have a blessed day ahead.
Thank you.